You would not believe the lengths I've gone to make this video if I told you. This is probably the fourth or fifth time I've recorded it. Actually, I think I've recorded it more than that. I did a whole bunch yesterday and I scrapped them all. So I took the time to write a bit of a script on my phone. So if you see me looking down, I'm referring to that just because this is a relatively sensitive video. There's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about and I don't want to get it wrong. So long story short though, the TLDR is there's a whole heap of shit going on in my life at the moment. It's all kind of keeping me down and I feel stuck. Some people would probably understand it if they've got depression or anxiety. Sometimes your depression and your anxiety gets to a point, or your anxiety for that matter, gets to a point where you just can't think straight. You live in a fog, you live in a cloud, and that's shit for anybody. Particularly shit for me though, because I'm creative. So, like, my livelihood, my income, everything is predicated on me creating things. So walking around in a fog is just, it's not nice. Anyway, I sat down the other day at a rather uneventful sunrise and thought about what I can do to get myself out of that fog. And when I thought about it, what I come up with was just putting everything that's bothering me out here into the ether, into the public. I'm not doing it to get any commentary or any opinions. In fact, if I can figure out how to do it, I'm going to turn comments off on this video just because I don't want to have a discussion about it. This is just me talking about the things that are happening in my life at the moment. It's not a debate. It's not an opinion piece. It's just what's going on. So beyond that, I feel like getting it out and talking about it might help me frame up what I need to do and work out whether or not I'm on the right track with a lot of things. And so yeah, okay, here we go. First things first. So I want to talk about home. These four walls, well, not particularly this one because me and Pop built that one, but this house generally has been my home for the majority of my life. I've been living here full time since I was 16, or by a couple of years, give or take here or there where I've moved about. But even before that, I've pretty well always lived here and I've always come back here. This has always been home. And that's true not just for me, but it's true for my nan and my pop. This place has been their home ever since they built it, and it was up until the day they died. Nan died a few years back and Pop died a few months back. But beyond me and those two, this has also been the home for my little brother for a long time. Him and I always called this place home. We come back every weekend when we were kids, and we stayed here while Mum was moving around, and he even moved in when he was 16. So, you know, this is, or about 16, this has always been home. It's probably no surprise that when my grandfather passed away, he left the house to my younger brother and I. And as wonderful as that may sound, the logistics of sharing a house between two adult people that have different objective values in life is rather complicated. Understandably, my brother lives with his family and they are buying, or they're paying off their home, so as far as he's concerned, he's not getting anything out of this estate if he doesn't get any money out of it. And I get that. I understand that. I don't like the way it's being handled, or it's been handled. Him and I aren't talking at the moment as a result of the way the estate's being handled. But I understand exactly. You know, he wants his money and he deserves his money. And I'm not going to name you in case you ever start your own YouTube channel or anything like that. But if you do ever see this, Bullfed, I want you to know that I am working towards getting that money. I need you to understand that a 9 to 5 is not something I can do. The time I spend with my family, whether it be at appointments for Amelia or appointments at the school or just spending time with them generally, considering what we've gone through over the last 7 years with our court cases, it's more important to me than a 9 to 5. And while paying you off is absolutely important to me. It's something I'm working towards every single day. I can't compromise my family values just to pay you off a little bit quicker. So I need you to be patient, and I need you to trust that it's happening. There isn't a cent I earn that I don't put away in savings, either for you or as capital on the business, so that I can get a loan sooner than later. It's something I'm working towards. And that's the first thing I want to talk about. That's probably the least most egregious thing. I mean, estate debates and things like that happen all day, every day, but him and I don't talk at the moment, so I struggled for a little while with how I was supposed to discuss with him that I am making an effort without it causing an argument, putting YouTube up where that's one of the things I talk about, and then blocking comments would achieve that. So that's out there now. Second thing, unintentionally, these things get a little worse as the list goes on, but so let's just jump straight into this. My mum and I are estranged, and we've been estranged for 4 odd years. We pretended not to be when I moved home 3 years back, because I moved back into my granddad's home, and obviously he was still around, so Mum and I thought it was the right thing to do to pretend that we were getting along for his sake. Since his passing, though, she's become more intolerable than ever before, and we resumed our estrangement shortly thereafter. The catalyst of which, though, is, again, the house. Well, not even so much the house, but the things in it. Apart from the fact that she's running tails between my little brother and I, and my uncle and I, and fuck knows who else, trying to cause drama. I'm taking my time to pack everything that isn't the actual house in boxes, so that the family as a whole can sort through those boxes at a later date, and I, as an executor of the will, can sell whatever has value against the debt that's on the estate, because that's my obligation as an executor of the will. Well, she doesn't like that. She wants to be up here doing it herself, and I don't trust her as far as I can throw her, and that's not very far, so that's not going to happen. Needless to say, that caused arguments between her and I, and we resumed our estrangement. There was more I wanted to say on that topic. At the very end of our, we'll say, heated discussions, she made a couple of threats about estranging my younger brothers from me. When she broke up with my dad, she remarried, and they have 5 kids. I have all brothers, 6 little brothers. There's my little brother, and then there's those 5 that Mum had. I call them my brothers. I don't make any distinguishments or anything like that. It's not important to me that they're half as related or what. Like, I don't give a shit. Anyway, she basically made veiled threats that, you know, I will lose them. So similarly to what's going on with my little brother, I thought if I put a video out that just publicly admonishes that fact, then it's up to them to deal with individually. So here it is. I would never blame anyone for a second for being caught in the web of lies that my mum spins. Not ever. Because I was for the longest time. I was estranged from my old man up until, maybe almost 10 years ago now. Because I was stuck in Mum's webs of lies. So I don't blame anyone that does. However, know that I don't have a grudge against any of you. Not a single one of you. If you act on the bullshit Mum tells you without checking with me first, that's on you. That's wholly on you. That's not being caught in her lies. That's not being smart enough to think about it and check. So that's a whole different issue. But let me just check, make sure that was everything I wanted to get out. Yep, I think so. Right, so finally, now this is the hardest one for me to talk about. I mentioned in the vlog ages and ages ago that I was being lined up to speak on a podcast about parental alienation. That podcast turned all political, and as far as I know, it's been nipped in the bud, so I will not be on that podcast. I don't talk about parental alienation often because this channel is not family oriented. It's not a family vlog. That's just not what my channel is about. However, for the purpose of this video, I need to talk about it. My ex-partner and I have been in court over custody for our daughter for 7 years. My daughter is just turned 8 earlier this year. The case finalised in the early months of this year, and I basically lost everything I'd ever gained. I lost my parental responsibility. I lost a significant portion of the time I was spending with my daughter, and more importantly, I lost any chance I had of going back to court because it was an appeal that I made to be in there this last time. So I now have no appeal route at all. It's all done and dusted. However, I honestly expected, and I honestly did, that once I'd lost my PR and I no longer had an opinion, that my daughter's mother's attitude towards my daughter and the decisions she was making would improve. I was fucking wrong. They just got so incredibly worse. She was actively encouraging my daughter to be miserable about seeing me. She was punishing her for being happy when she when she was seeing me, and being happy about the things that we do here, like the activities and the hobbies she has when she's here. And it may all sound ridiculous, but I want you to imagine if you've got kids watching your 8 years old, scratching holes in their skin and having physical, mental breakdowns in front of you because they don't want to be with you. Like, it's ridiculous. At the end of the day, my wife and I spoke to our psychologists. My ex sought the opinion of a psychologist for my daughter. I spoke to trusted advisors from the university that I'd worked with and that had taught me over the years. I spoke to trusted friends, trusted family, and my wife and I discussed it ad nauseum for about 3 months. The decision we were considering was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, and we're risking it on, well, we're hoping against hope, really, that it works. All of the opinions that we garnered were of the advice that we should step away from my daughter's life completely, entirely, so that she's no longer being punished for being a part of our lives. Until such a time that she has the mental stability and resilience to understand that what her mum's doing is wrong, and to recognise when her mum's being vindictive and manipulative, and to work through it. Because at the moment she doesn't. She's 8, so when she sees mum's upset and mum tells her it's because she's here, or because she likes Highland dancing, or because any of that, she doesn't understand it, and she just thinks that the things she likes are bad. So my little girl basically has no personality because she's been told that everything she enjoys, or at least half of what she enjoys, is wrong and bad and is hurting her mother. So we decided to step away. It wasn't a decision that we explained to our family very well, apart from those that we discussed it with, and a lot of them, up until very recently, decided they were just going to fuck what we said and just seek a relationship with my daughter anyway. And you got to understand that the risk they were taking is basically that if they spent time with her, her mother has the option to punish her the same way she was when she was spending time with us, but she also has the added weapon of saying, "Oh, why wasn't Dad there? Well, Dad would have known," and further victimising us in front of my daughter's eyes and telling the false bullshit lies that she does. We told them to stop. We threatened to cut ourselves out of their lives just to alleviate that risk as much as we possibly could, because we like hoping that my daughter will develop the mental maturity and fortitude and resilience to be able to deal with my ex's mental and emotional manipulations and come around and spend time with us in the future is like the only thing that's keeping us going with that whole situation. So the thought that our family was just going to intercede that and go in about it and do their own thing and fuck it up for us was making us miserable. We confronted a number of them head on, and for the most part everybody's come around and they understand the decision we made when we took the time to explain to them that it wasn't just something we were flippantly doing, but we'd spoke to psychologists, we'd spoke to solicitors, we'd spoke to everybody we could, and that was the only recourse we had. They were less reluctant to acquiesce. So, however, there are still dumbasses like my mum that are procuring or trying to procure that relationship for their own selfish agendas, and I just want to say vocally on YouTube that you're a fuckwit. Anybody that continues to try and get that relationship with her while we're waiting for her to heal, while we're waiting for her mental stability to restabilise, is an absolute fuckwit. That's it. That's all the crap that's been holding us down. You know, I got my own personal struggles. Like, it's hard going through the stuff that was here because there's my pop and my nan. A lot of this stuff has memories, and a lot of it's sentimental, and there's not a room in the house that I don't have a memory of spending time with them in. So there's a lot about life at the moment that's just tough. Trying my best not to let it get to me, but I think at the end of the day I've just been ignoring it and pushing it off, and that's not healthy. So I wanted to deal with it all head on in this video. I'm making a conscious effort to deal with it all head on between my wife and I, and personally anyway, and actually just getting stuff done, and it, you know, there's progress there and it feels good. But it's really all I wanted to say today. Turning comments off. I haven't named anyone. I apologise if names slip through. I'll try very diligently in the editing process to remove the names, because I don't want anyone named for a couple of reasons. You guys can't hear my ex's side of the story, so I'm not going to name her because I don't want her being abused or, you know, approached about it. Similarly, I'm not going to name my daughter for that reason. I didn't name my mother because she's a public figure. As far as I know, they have their own YouTube channel and they do their own thing, and she's not going to tell her side of the story here either, so I don't want her getting bashed about it verbally. Bashed about it, I mean. Yeah, so sorry about the lack of content. Sorry about the rather bleak video, but it needed to be said. Thanks for watching, and I will see you whenever the next video is that I make. Okay, bye.